So Blizzard has finally given us our very first look at player housing in World of Warcraft. That's right, we've been waiting for a very long time for this announcement, and more importantly, for the details surrounding player housing. And we finally are getting our very first look at what this player housing system is going to be like. Two things though, before we get started. Number one, garrisons don't count as player housing. I know that all the people in the comment section are gonna pop up and they're gonna say, hey, you know, garrisons in Warlords of Draenor, you know, that was player housing and stuff. I understand this argument, like I get it, but you're wrong. And it was not player housing. It was not the player housing that we wanted. It doesn't count, okay? Number two, Zygor. Zygor is World of Warcraft's ultimate add-on, and it is the sponsor of this YouTube channel, which means that you should check it out down in the description below. Zygor can help you level faster, make more gold, get that pet or that mount that you have always wanted. And the best part is, if you check out this add-on's free trial and you're like, man, I really want to like invest in this thing, you can use code Nixium for 20% off. Let's talk about what Blizzard is doing with player housing, shall we? So we didn't get any videos or like screenshots or anything of player housing in action, unfortunately. We got what I like to call a BABS, okay? A big ass blue post. So one of the first things that Blizzard says is fortifying housing with pillars. And this is pretty much just Blizzard saying that, hey, just because we don't mention something in particular in this BABS, that doesn't mean that, you know, it's not gonna come maybe down the road or that it's not important to us. Anyway, let's keep going. Blizzard has 3 pillars for their player housing system, and it is this. The first one is boundless self-expression. Apparently, Blizzard's highest priority is to allow players to build a house that shows off their own personal taste or their warbands and acts as a desired backdrop for role-playing, or just allows the player to create something in a flight of fancy. They're intending on, of course, using some sort of 3D tool to allow you to place things, and they, of course, want to be surprised by everybody's little tiny expressions of detail. This is, of course, a very common thing in MMOs where you have some sort of 3D object placer thing feature that exists where you can put pictures where you want, chairs, tables, whatever. And I'm assuming that Blizzard is probably gonna pull this off very, very well because it's been done 100 times already at this point. The one thing that I will say though, okay, just between like me and you guys, like I don't want a Lord of the Rings online-esque housing system where you have like these little like spaces where you can put like certain sizes of objects or something. Like that's cool, but that's kind of primitive. You know, what I want is to be able to summon like a painting of a fruit bowl and be able to put that painting anywhere I want in the house. Like I could have that painting floating in midair. Like I'm a mage or something, dude. Like don't question it. You know, it's just a floating painting. That would be cool, but that's just my opinion. The second pillar is they want the housing system to be very social. While players can enjoy housing purely on their own, its systems are designed at a fundamental level to encourage interacting, playing, and progressing with your friends, neighbors, guilds, and wider community in a meaningful way. So this I think is cool. A little while ago when Blizzard first made that player housing announcement, I made a video talking about how one of the things I wanted to see in the housing system is neighborhoods, like in Lord of the Rings Online, for example, where it's not just you and your freaking like Coomer house, like, you know, up in like the mountains of Tirisfal Glades and you're all alone by yourself. In my experience, I don't really like the whole single player house in the middle of some instanced corner in the middle of nowhere, whatever. I don't think that's very fun. I just think a whole neighborhood system is a lot better, and Blizzard used the word neighbors. So that means they're doing a neighborhood system, and that is cool. The third pillar is a long-lasting journey. Housing is being built as an evergreen addition to the game with its own roadmap, reaching across multiple patches and into future expansions. Housing is not something players should expect to finish, but instead continually look forward to the next housing release, be it the new content or systems. Blizzard, you're doing great. You're delivering exactly what I, and I think many of you guys watching this, want. We want a really powerful tool to allow us to, you know, make the home however we want it to make, right? We want it to be kind of like social. We don't want to be just alone in the Coomer house up in Tirisfal Glades. Like, no, we don't want that. You know, we want like neighbors and stuff that we can get angry at. Like, you know, that's good. You know, have little block parties or something. That's freaking awesome. And then of course you have the long lasting journey. You know, player housing should be an evergreen piece of content that is continuously growing over time. So, hey man, Blizzard, you got the right approach to things. I think that's pretty cool. I like it. But of course, Blizzard does have to hit us with potentially a little bit of disappointment, at least in my opinion, and that is in this section, zoning in on home. So Blizzard has apparently paid attention to a lot of the discussion around player housing, specifically where are you going to be able to put this player house? Now, I'm fairly certain that I have the same opinion as most of you guys when it comes to where you can put your house. And that is to pretty much give the middle finger to the garrison system, where you can only put it in either this spot or that spot if you're Horde or the Alliance, and instead you have maybe several plots in Eastern Kingdoms, Kalimdor, Outland, Northrend, whatever, where you could potentially put a house. Now, in my last video, I did talk about, hey, that's a cool idea, but that's gonna be a lot of work, so maybe Kalimdor in the Eastern Kingdoms to start out, several plots that are very kind of racial specific, Night Elf plot in Ashenvale, Darkshore, whatever. Unfortunately, though, Blizzard is not doing this, and this is what they're doing instead. So pretty much they have said they're going the Warlords of Draenor route, and they're only going to have 2 housing zones available at launch, one for the Alliance and one for the Horde, with more possible places to live in the future. That is a little bit disappointing, I do admit, but let's keep reading. The Alliance area is going to take inspiration from Elwyn Forest with touches of Westfall and Duskwood. The Horde's area is inspired by Duratart's coastline and Ajara. So if you're a Forsaken, I'm sorry, you're gonna live in the desert. If you're a Night Elf, I'm sorry, you're living in the human lands, which again, that's why this is a little bit disappointing. I know there's a lot of people out there, maybe you're like a Pandaren or something, like the 10 people that play Pandaren, that you really wanna live like on a giant fucking turtle or something, floating out in, I don't know, the Great Sea, but you can't do that, sorry. So Blizzard is justifying this slightly disappointing decision by saying, one, having a lot of housing zones will conflict with the second pillar of designing a feature that is deeply social. In a world where players can live in many different zones, they become increasingly spread out, and even with aggressive sharding, the chance of seeing other players, much less interacting with them, drops quickly. I think that if you just had neighborhoods in different zones in the Eastern Kingdoms or Kalimdor, for example, I think that your deeply social point is debunked. Because if I have a neighborhood in Duskwood with a couple of houses in it, then I can hang out with the Duskwood citizens, or I can hang out with my fellow elves in the Ashenvale neighborhood, but that's just my opinion. Number 2, putting it bluntly, zones are a lot of work. Okay, Blizzard's being honest. Okay, legit. We'd much rather do a great job with a small number of zones than do a passable job on a large number, or come up with solutions that take the player out of the world into their own personal instance of a zone. Excellent, good. We chose these as our starting points because of how iconic they are for their respective factions and how much they feel like home to so many players already. So I will say, I understand. Okay, I understand that creating a whole neighborhood in, let's say, 14 different zones in Kalimdor and Eastern Kingdoms, I'm gonna keep using this example. I understand that that can be certainly a lot of work, but I do have to offer the criticism, Blizzard, that one of the biggest complaints that people had back in Warlords of Draenor with this alleged housing system was how stupidly limited it was. If you're a Night Elf, well, sorry, you're gonna be in this big Stormwind inspired garrison. If you're a Forsaken, well, sorry, you're gonna be in this big Orc inspired, fortress in the middle of Frostfire Ridge. And people didn't like that. People wanted their own unique, flavorful garrison that reflected the race that they were playing and the character that they were investing all of their time into. And that was something that you guys did not deliver on, which was very disappointing. And it almost seems like you're making the same mistake here again. I understand the whole, it's a lot of work, I get that, but at the same time, if you're gonna bring a player housing system into World of Warcraft, you probably shouldn't repeat the mistakes of the past. And also, I do have to say this, I know people are gonna get angry at me in the comment section for it, but you're a multi-billion-dollar company. Could we get maybe 4 plots maybe that we could build our home in? 4 maybe? Why 2? You know what I mean? But that's just my opinion, okay? Come on, man. It's not like you guys don't got the resources, all right? Unless War Within just completely is licking booty and is not making you guys any cash whatsoever, Okay, outfitting your home is the next section in this Babs. Blizzard is immediately addressing the concern on whether or not player housing is going to be paid to play, win or not, along with other conversations around real world money. We've been very aligned in our internal conversation that housing is designed to be primarily player first and not revenue first. Player first, but not revenue first. So that means player first, but revenue second, meaning that revenue could very well be a part of it. Okay, just reading between the lines, Blizzard. Housing will offer hundreds and hundreds of decorations and housing customizations via in-game rewards, but it will also offer a smaller number of items in the cash shop as well. There it is, dude. You're paying Blizzard $15 a month so they can pay that developer to make some bullshit that he's going to put on the cash shop that you have to pay more money for. Isn't that great? Isn't that exactly what you want your money to go towards? Blizzard, no. Look, I'd like to get into this subject, okay, but I probably got like 24 videos on this channel of me and other YouTubers and stuff and whoever just ripping apart the cash shop. Like, why the hell does this exist? Blizzard, don't put any stuff in the player housing thing on the cash shop. Like, please, like, come on, dude. You're already limiting the player housing to only 2 plots, okay, or 2 neighborhoods, whatever. And now you're saying you're going to attach the cash shop to it. Like, dude, what are you doing? Anyway, okay. We want to allow players to have as many options as possible for creating their perfect home in Azeroth, aka you want to have an opportunity to make money. Okay, the next part is a home for everyone. As part of our focus on wide adoption, we wanted to ensure that housing is available to everybody. Well, I would hope so. If you want a house, you can have a house. There's not going to be some high purchase cost, no lotteries, no big upkeep costs, and if your subscription goes out, don't worry, your house is not going to get repossessed. Your house is also shared amongst your warband with your other characters, being able to come and go as they see fit, so your orc character can hang out in your alliance house without a problem. Housing rewards are also shared across your warband, so you'll be able to use your Decor collection no matter which character earns it. Furthermore, you can visit your friends or guildmates' houses, neighborhoods, whatever, with minimal restrictions regarding faction. For example, while it's not possible for your human character to buy a house in the Horde Zone, your troll character in the same warband can, and then your human can use it as if it were their own. So the only thing that I have to say about this is that if you're gonna give players a home, like even like a level 5 player, some level 5 dude that just now started playing World of Warcraft for the first time, I would like it if your first house is like a stupid little shack, dude. Like it's covered in cobwebs and mold and stuff, and you gotta sweep it out, clean it up, start filling it with furniture. You slowly like build little advancements on it or something. You know, I think that's cool. Like, you know, hey, your character gets some dumb shack that nobody wants, and it kind of justifies the fact that, you know, I didn't earn this house, but nobody wanted it in the first place because it was garbage. And, you know, I think that's cool, like turning something broken into something very special. At least, I mean, that's kind of my fantasy with player housing, at least. Will you be my neighbor? I see what you did there. So this is concept art of what the new Horde neighborhood might look like. And pretty much in this section of the Babs, Blizzard is saying that the neighborhoods are probably going to have around 50 plots. So this will allow people to live next to each other, work together, and share in the reward of being part of the neighborhood. And neighborhoods are of course instanced, but they are crucially also persistent, so your neighbors can be your neighbors for years to come, or until you move, maybe. And neighborhoods come in 2 flavors. 1, there's public neighborhoods, which the game servers are responsible for creating as needed and maintaining. And 2, there's private neighborhoods created by groups of friends or guilds to inhabit, progress, and customize together. So while an individual player can have a house, a community can have a neighborhood. And that is pretty much it. You can see in the concept art, like the little plots of homes, like you got the, you know, seaside homes over here, you got these cliff face homes, you got these houses that are kind of in this watery, rocky area to the left here. And then of course you have these, you know, homes way up on these like, you know, balancing rocks, kind of reminding me of Thousand Needles or something. So you kind of have like different ecosystems, I suppose, that these 50 homes can be in. And of course, I can imagine there's going to be a lot of competition in neighborhoods to get those really pristine spots. In conclusion, like after reading this Babs, I mean, I'm just kind of scrolling through it again right now. Your 3 like pillars, the foundations of your player housing philosophy, I think is good in terms of like, hey, Let's make it very expressive. Let's make it social. You know, let's make it evergreen. I think that's great. But then I feel like well, I guess you took 3 steps forward, but then you take 2 steps back because you're like, well, we're just gonna start with just 2 plots. And you know, we're just gonna let you guys know up front that we're gonna monetize this player housing system. So it's like, you know, like you won, but like you only took 1 step forward. You know what I mean? Like you took 3 steps forward, 2 steps back, and you know, so it's like, this is cool. I'm happy. I'm glad it's a neighborhood system. Lord of the Rings Online, if you guys have ever played it, I've been playing it on stream a lot lately. Buying homes and living with your friends and stuff, it's always a lot of fun. I love it much better than, you know, just having like some house by yourself out in the woods. At least I think so. So I think that's a huge win for Blizzard. And let me just say, if Blizzard says, hey, we're just starting with these 2 plots, but you know, a few months down the road, we're gonna introduce more, maybe like 4 more or something, and then, you know, a year from then we're gonna see like maybe 2 more or something. Like, I don't know, like at that point that would be cool. But like, I don't know, I just I guess it all just depends on how quickly Blizzard releases more plots, because if we get these 2 plots and then like 3 years pass and we still only have the same 2 plots, that's gonna be really disappointing. Like, what I'm hoping for here is Blizzard releases these 2 plots to begin with, and within 6 months we have 2 more, 4 more, or whatever. Like, Blizzard really needs to invest resources into making this a win, because I'm just gonna conclude with this. There are people out there that have genuinely been waiting for 20 years for this to come to World of Warcraft. So, I mean, it looks cool, don't get me wrong, but I feel like you could have done more, Blizzard, and I really hope that you do more. And I have faith that you will eventually. I don't know how long it'll take, but I guess we'll find out. So what do you guys think? You know, what'd you guys think of the Babs? I am Nixium. These were just my opinions, one among many. Share your own down in the comment section below. And if you want a really cool video to watch, I've been talking about Lord of the Rings Online. You should watch the video on your screen right now, because I'm answering the question, is Lord of the Rings Online worth checking out in 2025?